Ole Miss brought in a transfer portal quarterback. I wasn't thinking about that coming into the portal cycle. Then I kept thinking about it and realized, oh, well, actually, I think that makes a good deal amount of sense. So this is not, based on what I have been told, an indictment of Austin Simmons. That's still my expectation, that Ole Miss rolls out Austin Simmons as their starting quarterback. Former blue chip quarterback recruit who's been with the team while Jackson Dart has been the starting quarterback. Simmons kind of the natural handoff. And still, Ole Miss has gone out and added Ferris State transfer quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. Okay, let me start with two things I could not love more about this guy. First of all, his stats last year at Division II Ferris State. Brownie points if you can tell me which state of these United States. They're 50, by the way. Just 50. And yeah, if you can tell me which state that's in, yeah, bonus points for you. I know the answer because I looked it up before I did this segment. But so last year, he threw for almost 3,000 yards, 2925 to be exact, 2,925. Threw for 26 touchdowns. He also ran for 25 touchdowns and just over 1,000 yards. So the dual threat component is alive and well. And you know what? Lane Kiffin has not ever been shy about having a quarterback that can move a little bit. Doesn't need to, but you take someone that just had a freakishly good statistical season and you bring him in to be a depth piece to, maybe push Austin Simmons a little bit. But if you're still committed to him as the guy, but this is your backup, the stats are fun. Secondly, can I just tell you his name again? There is no way, there's just no way that a quarterback whose name is Trinidad Chambliss is going to do anything but bring immaculate vibes and maybe some high-end quarterback play as well. I can't think of a time where a Division II, this is not FCS, this is different. There's Division I, that's what we all think of with the Power 4 and the G5. There's Division I FCS, that's your Montana State and the Big Sky, your North Dakota State, the Missouri Valley, all that sort of stuff. Then there's Division II and Division III. I can't think of a time, I don't know of one, in which a Division II quarterback has wound up becoming a starter in the SEC. If someone wants to fill me in, you go ahead and do so because I'd be interested to learn about it. But I don't think that's really a thing. And so that makes this all the more intriguing. But Trinidad Chambliss, who threw for over 2,900 yards and ran for over 1,000, that should be all you possibly need to hear. So if you were surprised, wait, Ole Miss added a quarterback? Wait, what about Austin Simmons? No, nothing about Austin Simmons. This is a depth piece. This is maybe some upside one day, but in no way, shape, or form do I expect there to suddenly be a massive quarterback controversy. I think Ole Miss is still going to ride forward with Simmons. So that was the first piece of news I want to talk about in the SEC because there's plenty of portal buzz. Nothing between schools, of course, because there's a rule against that in the spring window. But next guy's Emmett Mosley V. So this is a wide receiver who goes from Stanford over to Texas. So the last time that a wide receiver went from a former Pac-12 school, RIP, of the OG variety, and went over to Texas, it was Silas Bolden. And was he the best player on Texas? No. Was he a contributor? Yeah. Do I expect Mosley to be? Absolutely. Because this is a guy who had over 500 yards receiving in a Stanford offense last year that wanted to throw the ball a lot, couldn't do it consistently. But when they had success, it was either going generally to Alec Iomanner, who's going off to the NFL draft, or Emmett Mosely V. He's not super big. He's not super small. He's not super fast. He's not super slow. This is just an incredibly solid piece. I think Texas's wide receiver room is going to be propelled by Ryan Wingo. I think that's the next great Texas wideout that Steve Sarkisian has coached in the last couple of years. You think of Xavier Worthy. You think of Matthew Golden this last year, who transferred in from Houston. Isaiah Bond had a really good year coming in from Alabama. The wide receiver position has been loaded. I think this is a really, really nice depth piece to ensure in a year where they have a lot of turnover in that wide receiver room, to ensure that they are going to still have a bunch of reliable pieces that just have to fit into the way Sark calls plays, which is really creatively and really, really just smartly. And look, it doesn't all. We'll see how it looks with Arch Manning, and it doesn't always live up to the hype in our heads. But overall, I think the way that he has used different receiver pieces in his offense over the years makes him one of the best offensive coordinators in the country. And of course, he got the Texas job because he was deemed the best coordinator in all of college football, winning a national championship with Alabama. So I like Mosley a lot. Tremendous footwork. Route running, solid. But I'm just saying, if you throw him a contested catch or he has to make a spectacular one, his highlight reel is chock full of them because that's something he's incredibly capable of doing. His footwork near the sideline, his jump ball and contested catch ability is something that I really like. You can also just throw him the ball on a quick screen. He's someone who I think is good after the catch. He's an incredibly well-rounded receiver. He's not a one-trick pony. Like Xavier Worthy was a great college receiver. He was incredibly fast, and that's what you knew about him, right? You want to get him the ball on end arounds. You want him taking deep shots, running the deep post. Like, he was not a one-trick pony necessarily, but he had something that was identifiable about him that made you go, that's what you're going to lean into. That's what makes him special. With Emmett Mosely V, again, I don't expect him to be Texas's leading receiver. I expect him to be a contributor because I think he can do a number of different things. At 6 feet tall, you can put him on the outside, not the tallest guy in the world. You could put him in the slot. He's quick enough to work there. You could get him involved in gadget plays. You could throw him the ball down the field. I think this is a really just nice, kind of sneaky, under the radar, solid addition for Texas to make sure their receiving core is where it needs to be for Arch Manning, because that guy's got all the potential in the world. And for those of you that missed my show the other day, he is the only quarterback in the class of 2023 of the top 8 guys who's at the school he committed to coming out of high school. He's the only one. And we're finally going to get to see Arch Manning at Texas. It might be too crazy for college football to handle, for some fans to handle perhaps. However, it is going to be quite the spectacle. Either way, I don't think there's going to be a down the middle, he's doing fine. I think he either crushes it or comes up way short of expectations. I lean towards the first one because he's been waiting for a couple years, knows the system, and he's got a bunch of good targets around him once again. So, last SEC piece of portal news to know for today, Braden Joiner went into the transfer portal. Offensive lineman on the interior leaving Auburn, 2024 SEC all-freshman team selection. I'm sure Auburn's got some other guys. I'd imagine he's one of the more highly regarded offensive line transfers out there right now. There are some other ones. Joe Cotton, the transfer tackle from South Dakota. They actually had 2 other guys on their offensive line transfer, and South Dakota went to the FCS semifinals a year ago. I don't know if they're all SEC caliber per se. Cotton had his offensive line coach go to Vanderbilt. Maybe he winds up over there. But the number of guys that have gone into the portal in the trenches that have a proven track record like Joiner does, I mean, it's not a huge number. Like, how many other SEC all-freshman offensive linemen are out there in the transfer portal? I don't know that there is another one. And I also thought about what this could mean for Auburn. And, like I said, they've recruited really well over the last couple of years. So they should have some solid talent. And Joiner doesn't blow you away with his Pro Football Focus grade. I think there is still some room to grow in there. But Auburn's just an interesting team to me because it should be more than it is. It should be better. They and Florida are kind of the same. They've recruited too well. Their talent level is too high to be as middling with the results as they have been in the last couple of years. And it's not a coincidence that their coaches are on the hot seat. I don't think that move increases the temperature underneath Hugh Freeze's rear end. I just noticed and went, boy, that's a pretty solid guy to have in the portal who's got 3 years of eligibility left and some real upside. So that's your SEC portal buzz for the day. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.